5 British things that I love and appreciate as an American that's been here many, many years. The first one is food quality. I recently commented on a post about somebody who was ripping into somebody else for using shredded cheese because of all the toxins in it. And I had to gently point out that we don't put toxins in our shredded cheese here. Basically, what happens in the United States is they use a few different chemicals to keep the cheese separated and preserved. In the UK, it's typical to only use potato starch or maybe cornstarch. We also don't use high fructose corn syrups, which are notoriously bad for your health. Another good example that I noticed when I was traveling is instant oatmeal because it's really handy to have when you're on the road. In the United States, theirs has a lot of artificial colors, a lot of artificial flavors, maybe not a lot, but some. And in the UK, it's oats and fruit and some sort of sweetener. That's all very disturbing about how much chemicals are just allowed to exist in American food. So from that point of view, I love the UK because I love my food. I don't know if you can tell, but I love my food. Okay, so that's processed food, but what about unprocessed food? I still think the food standards are much, much higher here in the UK when it comes to meat and eggs. I don't mind the fact that there's little bits of chicken poop on my eggs. Let me put it in a different way. I like that my eggs aren't washed in all kinds of chemicals. Like the fact that the chicken poop's there tells me that the egg is in its pretty natural state, and I appreciate that. I also really like the traditional foods. My favorites are sticky toffee pudding. There's a Nigella Lawson recipe where she basically has you put everything into a big pan like that, bung it in the oven, and it just comes out beautiful. And then the other one is the Sunday roast, especially if it's in the pub, a really nice traditional pub, and you pay someone else to do all the work and clean it all up again. But that's my favorite thing in the world. I've slowly gotten friends to say yes to being on camera because I think we're going to do a little group outing for the Sunday roast, and I'll make a video. Another thing I really love about the UK is that it's a very practical size. It's compact. I know it's crowded, but let's look at it in a positive way. The fact that you can get post delivered to you the next day. Parcels take a couple days at most. Comparing it to the likes of the United States and Australia, where it can take days, if not weeks, for things to show up. I have spent a lot of time in Australia and I absolutely love it, but one of the things that drove me crazy is just the unpredictability of parcels arriving. The compact size means that it's possible to explore. I can safely say I've seen most of the UK. I've been to Northern Ireland twice, I've been to Scotland 4 times, been to Wales 4 times, and I'm pretty sure I've been to every county in England. Overall, there's actually quite a bit I've seen. Compare this to the United States, I've been to 40 of the 50 states, but I don't feel like I've seen that much on the ground. Basically, I think you'd have to live in a van and keep moving just to see everything. That said, there's actually quite a few places that I can think of that I haven't been to that I do want to go to. I really want to go to the Pembrokeshire coast. I've never been to Glasgow. I've never been to Liverpool. And those two are important because those are hubs, well, where immigrants left. So I'm not saying this very well. My immigrant ancestors left the UK through those ports. They also traveled through Grimsby, Hull, and Southampton. I've been to Southampton a few times, but I'd like to go back now that I know a little bit more about who was traveling there and when, and just I could get into that time period a little bit better. Also, I've never been to Durham, and I hear that's pretty spectacular also. Well, speaking of immigrant ancestors, record offices and archives in the UK are my absolute happy place, because I love the idea that there's just all this information, it's just waiting to be discovered. I've been a genealogist for probably about 25 years now. I'd already been living in England for about 6 months when I found out that my great grandmother had passed away. And with that knowledge came the fact that she had English and Irish ancestry. So that opened up a whole world for me where I'm thinking, I need to find out who all these people are. My closest English ancestry is through my great 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 grandparents who came over from Yorkshire. But I also have some other English ancestors. I just haven't, put it this way, their branches are going so far back in the United States that I actually haven't traced them back to England yet. I'm anticipating those branches came to the United States in the 1700s, if not 1600s. Over the years, I've had a lot of opportunities to experience these records up close and personal. Not everything's been filmed. Sometimes you have to look at the original source. I'm really thrilled that I held a parish record book. It was things like the church warden's accounts, and it had so much rich detail. And I now know one of my direct ancestors was the parish clerk. Do you say Clark or clerk? Anyway, he was doing a lot of the writing in there. So this would have been about 1780s to 1810s. There's such a thrill seeing these huge maps, like tithe maps. When they're spread out, they take up a huge space. You're going to have to just take my word for it if you've never seen one of these guys in person. And so detailed as well, down to individual trees and hedges and buildings. So it's pretty great. Another thing I really love is the landscapes. I really love the coastlines here. I mean, pretty much all the coastal regions are stunning. I'm thinking particular like North Wales, Lyme Regis, North Devon, up along the Northumbria coast. That's really nice too. I've even been to Sunny Honey. I spent a lot of my childhood in the Rocky Mountains, so I love the mountains here too. North Wales, stunning. I just need to go back and spend more time there. I've also really enjoyed Lake District, the Peak District, Highlands. I love Speyside whiskey. In terms of landscape, it might not be the most dramatic in the world, but I do think it has something to offer. And it's just because it's a compact country, it's just accessible. Another thing I really love is the practicality of the postcodes and the dialing codes for the phone numbers. I love the fact that the landlines all use the same prefix for a region. And so there's no guessing, but it does mean like if I have a phone number calling me from the States, I don't know if it's a mobile or a landline. I just don't know. And here it's pretty clear. Enough about that. Postcodes, that's where it's at. Like literally, I love the fact that if you type in a postcode, if you're doing something online with an address, it just brings up a nice short list of the ones that you can choose from. Usually it's short, sometimes it's really long. So practical. I know that sometimes when you enter an address, it wants you to start typing from the house number. I hate these. I just find them so error prone. I'd rather just type the postcode and then here's a short list. Here's what could be correct. Whereas if I'm typing this big long thing, sometimes I don't find what I'm looking for. All right, I'm keeping it short and sweet this week. Thank you for joining me today. I'm working on 2 more videos. So I'm doing a shopping video with my friend Michelle. So I will be linking that when it's ready, but it's not ready yet. And then I've also done another one around genealogy, just digging into that a little bit because there are some genuinely fantastic genealogy resources. Genealogy, it's said both ways. I'm going to try to say genealogy, because I think genealogy is the US pronunciation. So anyway, look out for both of those. You might consider subscribing. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.